Hello everyone, and welcome to another PvP commentary. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different than normal. We're actually going to be talking about ESO, but not just ESO. We're going to be talking about games in general, but of course it's going to be focused around ESO. But this is something that I have wanted to make a video about for some time, and I've been a little bit hesitant on doing it because, well, I love this game and I don't want to publish negative opinions about it, but I feel like it's at the point where as a content creator, I owe it to my audience to make videos about this stuff. And today's video is going to be about the fact that ESO is treated somewhat like a cash shop and it doesn't get some of the major improvements that it needs. And there is our first example that I have to show you guys. We are unable to cast our ultimate. It takes the cost of our ultimate away, and then our character's locked in a self-stun, so we're completely unable to play. And, I'm not upset that I died. You die all the time in PvP, and that's just the course of it. You'll always get in fights that you're going to lose. What I'm upset about is that I'm unable to play, and, I just want to be able to play the game that I'm paying money to play for. So how did this problem kind of get to where it is today? Well, I think that the reason that this has manifested in ESO was because the game was not ready to be launched when it came out. The game was unfinished on release, and that is unfortunately, case A for ZeniMax. ZeniMax is, of course, the beneficiary of Bethesda, and Bethesda released Fallout 76, which was a mess, to put it kindly, on release. And, ESO was no different on release. This game was not ready to be put out. It was not finished, and it still needs work today. 5 years later, I would say that this game has definitely had a lot of spit and polish, but it's been really slow, and we still don't have that performance that we, would love to see in our favorite game. And of course, a poor launch on a game is going to severely affect the lifetime of the game, and it will severely affect how the shareholders, who are kind of ultimately deciding where the money goes in a privately traded company like Bethesda, it'll decide what they do with the game and what they push for the game. So, ESO had that rough start, and things like the Crown Store had to come in, cash shops and stuff like that. They had to make the game free to play into the cash shop model in order to survive. So what I'm saying is that the cash shop model has essentially resulted in a worse game in the long run. And it's because the shareholders have much less incentive to worry about player satisfaction. They have much less incentive to worry about how the game actually feels to play, and especially retaining long-term players, because once someone purchases the game, they buy the DLC they want, they buy a bunch of crowns, and that's usually the way that this goes. And then, the experience past that is just, it doesn't feel important to ZeniMax. As a player of this game, as someone who's played 5 years of this game, the end game experience just doesn't seem like a priority at all. And I think that that's one of the biggest curses and biggest faults of this game, is the fact that they can always pull in new players with new expansions, new titles, new Crown Store, this and that, but this game does not retain endgame players. And if you want to see the proof of that, you can look at something like Steam charts, where the population of this game has gone up dramatically in the past couple years. However, we do not see an increase in people who are actively playing endgame activities like PvP. And as an endgame player, I'm frustrated with the state of performance. And there again, we are denied multiple rolls in a row, and it's going to seriously impact the course of the fight and seriously impact my enjoyment of the game yet again, because I'm unable to react accordingly. And this business model, I don't just really view as sustainable. I don't think that video game companies can honestly last with a business model like this. I think that it's a great way for a huge video game company to do their last 5 or 10 years and get as much money out of their company as possible before no one's going to buy games from them. And I personally feel a lot of sadness and a lot of pain for the developers who make this game, because they really care. And you can tell they care because this is a really great game as at the base. The combat is fantastic. It's beautiful. It's pretty. This game is a work of art. But the people who decide where the money is going and decide how things change in this game, they just don't view it that way. And I just want to stress that difference between, you know, the developers who are actually making the game and the people who are telling them what they can and can't do. It's the people with the power, the people with the money that are deciding that this game is not going to be good like it should be. And I feel so bad for the people that put the hard work into this game. You know, I can't imagine what a kick in the teeth it must be to be someone who is making content for this game, who is working on, you know, making the server better so the players can enjoy it, because these game developers, the people who make the game, they love what they do. That's why they're making video games. But they're being told by the guy who's paying their check that you need to go and reskin a horse for the Crown Store instead of working on something like server performance. And with ZeniMax personally, you know, the lag has become a huge sore spot, not just for the community, but for them too. They don't respond well to when people complain about poor performance, because ZeniMax, honestly, I feel like they view it as them getting attacked. And it's not, we're not attacking you, ZeniMax. We're not attacking you when we say this game's performance is bad and it needs to be improved. We're simply giving you that constructive criticism of this is what we as the customer are noticing about your product. And I feel like, you know, ZeniMax has that stance because in the past, ESO was bagged on when it first came out, just like Fallout was bagged on by a lot of popular content creators because it was easy to get views. And, you know, I've been with this game for 5 years. I'm not going to bag on this game for any reason. I'm going to give criticism, and that's it. I'm not going to be like, this game shit, don't buy it. I love this game. It's fantastic, but it needs to improve. It needs to improve, especially if it wants to survive, especially if ESO wants to be the best MMO in the world, which it definitely could be, in my opinion, if the server just ran well. And here we go again. We miss another precog into a self-stun. I'm not really sure why that's happening, but it's just another one of the many bugs that crop up in this game that are just not, you know, fixed in a timely manner, and things like the server performance not fixed in a timely manner. So I guess my end point here is that video games are an art, and they are not something that is meant to be bled out for cash. And I think the reason that video games have shifted from art towards a product that they're trying to sell or you know, get people to spend money on is because the companies have started to make so much money. The companies become so successful and they lose sight of what a game really should be. And, you know, not all companies, but I think North American developers, especially the larger North American developers, have fallen really heavily into this, let's make this game about making money, not about the game itself. And, yeah, you know, my last point that I'm going to leave you guys with is that if I play ESO every day and it doesn't work, what's my incentive to play that versus something from Nintendo like Legend of Zelda, where I know when I turn it on, it's going to work? And I personally have that struggle. That's my personal thing that I ask myself is why don't I just play something else that works better? You know, it could be maybe not even as good a game as ESO, but I'll prefer to play that because it at least works. So there you go, guys. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I know it was not really positive subject matter, but I did really want to talk about it because it hurts as a long-term player to continue to deal with these performance issues, and it hurts especially when ZeniMax is just mum about it. And the only thing that they say about performance is, you know, oh, we're going to look into making it better in the next 6 months over this year. And that's not even on their ESO Live. That's on the after show and a 2-minute segment out of the 3-hour after show. So, like, that's kind of my point, is that it just doesn't feel important to them at all. And I would love to see a shift in that attitude from ZeniMax. And I don't want to see them make posts about it. I don't want to see them apologize. I want to see it in game. I want to see better ping. I want to enjoy this game when I play it. I don't want to play my favorite game and feel like I'm being pushed off of it because it doesn't work. But anyway, guys, I think I've said enough. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hit that like button if you guys like this video. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. I create regular ESO content weekly. We feature community content as well, so if you guys want to send in top 5s or send in a build to be featured on the channel, you guys can send it in to ChristopherESO@hotmail.com. And finally, we are sponsored by What the Fast. They're a VPN for gamers, and they give me better ping to my favorite games. They're free to try for the first 14 days, no credit card to sign up. So thank you guys for taking the time to hear me out, and I hope to see you again next time.